Hello and welcome to the SEER 365 sessions, where we have great conversations with partners from around the world and doing different things. And today we're going to talk about data, which, as we all know, is kind of a core part of everything that we do, but is sometimes neglected or handed off to other people who may not know what they're doing quite as well as the team at DQ Global. So welcome to the team from DQ Global. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Great to be
Cool.
on.
And so let's start as we typically do with a bit of introductions from yourselves and what DQ Global does. Connor, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. So Connor Doyle from DQ Global. I head up the sales function here at DQ and also partner management. Joined the business 5 years ago to see things all DQ and the side of the data space rather than the container. So I think Martin's going to introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about who we are and what we do.
Wonderful. Thank you. Martin?
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, Martin Doyle, CEO and founder of DQ Global. Been around the data quality space for a long, long time. Used to implement CRM systems up to 25 years ago now, actually before Dynamics was around. So been around a long time. Who are we? We are an ISV. We're UK based. And we're 100% focused on improving CRM data quality. At the heart of what we do is really quite simple. We're helping clients achieve more from that customer data so they get greater success from the CRM systems that they're buying from, obviously, MSPs. And why does it matter? Because it's like anything where you've got ingredients. Doesn't matter whether it's a cake, whether you're baking a cake, whether you're filling your car with fuel, whether you're eating the right ingredients. You need good quality ingredients to make something work well or grow well or run well, and that's the same for CRM. So we're helping people improve the quality of the content, as Connor mentioned, rather than fixing things around the container.
Cool. And good use of cake on today, which Bake Off starting at 8 o'clock tonight for those of you in the UK. So it's a good time. Well done. Very excited about that bit. So yeah, I mean, we've been working together for a while now, and a comment I've made a few times is that data's that bit where customers are always like, "Oh, we'll do it," and then you get towards the end of the project, the customer hasn't done what they're meant to have done, it's all gone wrong, and suddenly it's the partner's fault. So I think having somebody like DQ Global on the call today, what are those things that if you're working with a customer or working with a partner, what advice have you got for those sort of partners and customers?
Yeah, you make a good point there. I think there's 3 ways that we see partners working. And I don't know if this sounds familiar to anyone who's listening, but you've got, okay, Mr. Client, you have that challenge, but unfortunately it's not something we deal with. We know it's a messy scenario. We know it's something that maybe they've got into before and it just wasn't for them because they want to stick to the core focus in the business, which is actually implementing the business application. So I think handing it off to say, Mr. Client, can you go away and deal with that is an option. And I think it has its benefits in that you're kind of staying away from the fire and washing your hands of it, but you're also kicking the can down the road. And like you said, Rich, you can end up with the client then getting bitten when they come to implementation. So that's one way we see. And the other way is that the partner takes it on and says, right, well, yeah, let's extend our expertise in the data space, and maybe they're using the out-of-the-box tools, maybe they're manipulating some of the data before. And again, that's great because you're taking the responsibility on from the client and you're trying to help and implement a solution. The challenge is, you've already got 50 million things to do, and you're just adding another thing into the project implementation where resources are already tight and budgets are tight. So they're kind of the 2 ways we see, and we have partners coming to us and saying, oh, I didn't realize there was a solution out there, or there was an easier way to do this, or I was reinventing the wheel. So there are solutions where you can come and you can find duplicate records, you can cleanse data automatically, you can put better practices in place for implementation, migration and integration of data. So they're really the 3 ways, and the partners that we have worked with see a benefit when they say, oh, let's introduce the client to this partner and leverage expertise. And that doesn't matter whether it's data quality, us, or whether it's a marketing automation platform or a currency exchange platform. I think it's the same premise, and it's about awareness, really.
So let me ask a really stupid question. I allow myself at least 5 a day, so I'm going to use up one of my 5 a day. But like, why? What does it matter? Like, it seems like an obvious thing. You want good quality data, but why does it matter? Like, if the data isn't cleansed, the deduplication, or whatever it looks like, if that doesn't happen, what's the kind of the downside that you guys have seen?
Or should we use your cake metaphor, Richard? Because as it's Bake Off tonight.
Bake Off, 8 o'clock tonight. I am quite excited.
8 o'clock.
So
indeed. Don't message Rich tonight at 8 o'clock. He's busy.
No.
So you've got the guys doing their Bake Off tonight, and they come along and they put rubbish ingredients in. What happens to their cake?
Soggy bottom, Martin.
Soggy bottom, right? Yeah. And they don't win against their competition. So same metaphor, rubbish data in your CRM, bad decisions. Nowadays with AI, often with a high level of certainty, so bad data, bad decisions lead to a bad business. So if you've got bad ingredients and your competitor has got better ingredients, you're going to lose out against your competitor because they're going to make faster, better, more trusted decisions, really. So it really is as simple as that.
I think to add to that as well, then if you look at, maybe what you could use that analogy, and I think everyone can relate to that, especially people in the UK with Bake Off. And if you take it to a point where you're looking at adoption, you're looking at trust, you're looking at completeness behind data sets, they all can be measured. And fundamentally, if you're losing out on adoption because people, they love the system, but they don't trust the data that's within it, then you're fighting a losing battle, because one of the biggest benefits of high adoption is that data is being updated within the system, and that only fuels better adoption throughout the organization, better reporting, better decisions, better business growth. So it's kind of like a cascading event. When you get poor quality data, people are going, well, I'm going to take this data and I'm going to put it into an Excel spreadsheet and I'm going to keep it perfect myself. So suddenly you've got that cascade of bad habits within a business, people complaining, and as Martin said, it fundamentally comes to bad outcomes for the system, but also for the business. So yeah, I don't know if you've seen anything, Rich, in your years of experience.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I've got one glaring example in my head, and for very, very obvious reasons, I'm not going to say the customer name. But certainly in a previous life, we had many customers, but like I said, the one that sticks in mind, they were pretty adamant they were going to do all the data stuff. They were going to cleanse it. They were going to dedupe it. They were going to make sure all the stuff was good. And it was a multi-year project, very large project. And then towards the end of the project, suddenly, it hadn't been done. They were going to hire some interns to do it or something. It hadn't been done, and the whole project was effectively put on hold. Now, and clearly, it's always the partner's fault, right? Invariably. But everybody knew it was because they didn't have the data, and obviously you need the data to do the UAT testing, and you need data for certainly for go live, but you need it before go live. Otherwise, you can't actually test the system. I've had other ones where the customer didn't think that that the system was working correctly because it was showing different data to what their old system was showing, and it was because it had been cleaned, and suddenly two different bits based on clean data versus unclean data, and nobody wanted to put their hand up and admit to that. So I'm sure that never happened in any other scenario. But
never, Rich.
It is very important.
I mean, I think what it shows up is there are process faults, there are technical faults, there are human errors always in this kind of thing. And you were talking about the data appearing in the CRM and that project you worked on. Often it's a bit like the removal men coming along and lifting the data, lifting everything from your old house and putting it into your new house. And you get into your new house, you go, well, why did we bring all this rubbish with us? What's this doing here? And the users get very frustrated when that happens. And of course, who do they blame? The partner. And this is, as you said, as Connor made the point, the partners either say, it's down to you, Mr. Customer, we'll take it on. And the taking it on generally means I'll lift the old stuff and move it to your new system without any cleansing along the way. It's just a migration exercise. Or, hopefully, and often they call in ourselves during that process or after the process when things go wrong. So, yeah, it's there are some common challenges.
Yeah, which brings up, right, so I think we've all depressed ourselves enough. And today's an important day, as I've already said.
8 o'clock.
So 8 o'clock, yeah. So, let's move forward then. So you offer service to partners, but also the technology for the partners to do it themselves if they wanted to. So walk me through if I did want to say, you know what, I as a partner, I'm busy enough. We've got enough going on. This is something that I don't want to take on. I want to get somebody like DQ Global involved. What would that process look like from a partner's perspective?
Sure, and maybe even I could talk on the customer process, because
of course.
I had a very similar conversation last week to what you just said there, Rich. Was partner introduces ourselves to end client, because end client was facing issues. They're actually bringing in data from another system, and they knew it was going to be duplicated. So the partner we were working with said, right, let's put you in contact with DQ Global. So that was the case. I then spoke to the end client and understood some of the challenges they were facing, obviously. We looked at the technology, and then we looked at, okay, well, yes, it's a tool, but that tool also needs to be configured, because each business has different set of rules and processes and the way they want to master their data. And again, that was slightly daunting for that client, because they have 50 million other things that they want to do. And data is probably not one of them, although they know it's super important. And they said, well, how can we make this process painless for us, to the point where this tool inside out, or your services inside out? Can you come in and accelerate this process as much as possible? And then we will come and approve the rules, the processes, the logic that's set up, so that then we're working together and we got the best of both worlds. So that's really where we're finding the transition from partner, but also helping out the end client to make it a smooth transition, because data is super important, but it can take up a lot of time, especially to get it right.
Yeah. And then
I think that's where automation comes in, Rich, as well. It's where the automation starts kicking in, where you can give people back the time and repurpose it for more useful things. The same stories we've heard with Copilot, how it accelerates, usability, and we want to help clients improve their quality, but they don't have to sit there and do it manually. We want it to be fully automated, ideally, as much as possible. We've got clients in 5-star hotel groups who are absolutely paranoid about not merging records incorrectly, which is quite right when they've got royalty and
of course.
high-end guests staying there. So you have to be pretty damn sure that the matching is going to be right, and any automated reprocessing is going to be right. So I think to Connor's point there, you're helping the client by configuring it with this automation.
Yeah. And then how you mentioned with some of the partners that you're working with, they come in once the system's gone live and found out that the data isn't right, and then some before. I'm guessing the best practice is to do it as early as possible.
It's like anything, isn't it? Prevention's better than cure always, isn't it?
Yeah.
So ideally at prevention, which leads you to another point. It's important that a point of entry into the system, wherever that's coming from, be that a migration, an integration, or just literally a human putting data in, you need to be sure that the data is correct at point of entry. There's I don't know if you've heard of a kind of 1-10-100 principle. It's a concept where if you said there was $1 for data entry and $10 to fix it down the line once you perhaps discovered, it's entered the system, but 100 when it's wrong to fix a problem. Delivery's gone wrong, an invoice gone to the wrong person. I don't know, you frustrated the hell out of people. It costs you 100 times that £1 or $1 that you would have paid at point of entry. So yeah, that's an interesting process. So yeah, point of entry, fix it early on, because you don't want that process snowballing down the line, because it's, if you don't fix it at the beginning, someone else gets the problem down the line. You're just kicking the can down the road.
And I guess the Connor's point as well, when a user's using a new system, they're either going to be supportive of it or negative of it, depending on their point of view. They either wanted the new system or they just wanted to stay on the old one. But as soon as they come onto the new one, if the data isn't there, it's giving weird outputs or whatever. You're going to lose that goodwill or the ability to have goodwill very quickly. So,
well, you're dealing with a change management, aren't you? When somebody picks up a new CRM system, it's a whole change management process as well as the CRM. It's a cultural change. These people are probably working on another system before. There's new processes, new things, and what they do spot is bad data, because that's the one thing they still know from their old system, and it frustrates the hell out of them. And it's unfortunate for the partner and unfortunate for the customer. And our concern for the partner is that caused them to churn. We've seen people threaten to throw out the system, but they always keep the data, strangely, don't they? If you ask them, keep the system or keep the data, they go, I'll keep the data. And we don't want that partner to be removed because of the frustration from the customer. We want to help that client succeed with better data and retain that customer for a long time.
Gents, we've actually had a question from Ross Williams. I don't know if you guys know Ross, but how do you think most customers looking to adopt AI in their workplace will impact the importance of data quality? So I think we kind of touched on it very briefly earlier on, but do you want to talk to that a little bit more?
Yeah. So again, I won't name the client that we're working with, but through the process, when we were implementing or going through the discovery process, one of my questions was, so what are your aspirations for AI? And this was probably about a year ago now. They said, don't worry about AI. We want our reports and dashboards to work. So it was a blocker to even get into what is already inherently in the system working correctly before they could even embark on their AI journey. So I think an answer to that question is, it's absolutely critical. And I think it's probably one of the main blockers for people actually leveraging AI or even considering the conversation is we need to go back and sort the foundations. It's like going and building I want to build my house and I want to build it to a third story. I want to increase the square footage or whatever. Well, if the foundations can't support it, then why are you even going to do it? Because it's going to fall down and it's going to provide no value whatsoever. So we would say, completely start at the foundation level, and then otherwise you're just not going to recoup your investment in AI technologies and future-proof yourself.
Martin?
Yeah, I was going to say on that front, the AI, the risk is that, as I mentioned probably once before, you can make very bad decisions with a high level of certainty. That's the problem with AI, and it does it fast. So we've moved from garbage in, garbage out to maybe garbage in, gospel out, or fast garbage in, fast garbage out. That's the risk with this. We actually put up a slide often, which we call our Leaning Tower of Data. Yeah, so the Leaning Tower of Data is built upon I'm not sure if you're familiar, there's the data, information, knowledge, wisdom kind of triangle. And at data level, that's the data in your CRM. The information comes when you can turn that data, that raw data, into some information, so it has some kind of context. So 10, 10, 10, if it's in a date field, means it's probably the 10th to the 10th, 2010 or 2010. If it's in a number field, well, what is it? So we use the metaphor. If you're in this DIKW, imagine you're a pilot, perhaps a co-pilot, and you're sitting there and it goes 1,000 on your dashboard. Well, 1,000 what? That's just data. 1,000 feet above the runway, 1,000 feet above sea level. And then you've got a context. You've now got some information. Now, wisdom or knowledge might be, oh, I've got mountains at 12,000 feet. So the pilot then, with a bit of insight and with his AI driven, or just using his common sense, says, oh, I better go up to above 10,000 feet, otherwise I'm going to go into the mountains. Now, if the foundation is screwed, you've got an offset because it's at sea level, not runway level. Then you have an offset, and your knowledge is being skewed, and you've got a distortion from the truth. So the further you get away from that data down the line, the greater the distortion and the worse the decision. So as Connor said, it's back to our ingredients. 8 o'clock tonight, bake off, good ingredients, good cake.
Yeah.
I am going to flip that, so I'm going to caveat that it all sounds very doom and gloom from us,
Yeah.
With companies that do get the foundations correct, will absolutely flourish with AI, I think is the under. I think it's about realizing what you've got, what ingredients you have got, and then making them the best that they can be, so you get the best results. So huge opportunity, but also being aware of what you've got.
Wonderful. And thanks, Ross, for your question. I appreciate you posting that. So cool. So right. So I've sat through the last 20 minutes, and I'm like, do you know what? This has sparked something in my mind. We need to sort this out. It's going to result in better outcomes for customers. It's going to result in better projects. So less free work for my customers. More profitable business. Brilliant. I want to do it. So how do you actually work with the team, with the partners? So they bring you in early. We've already discussed that. So they can bring you in early. You're part of the team, and then you then run it almost as a managed service, I guess. Is that how you guys work?
Yeah. So I think firstly it's about the partner being enabled to understand the challenges that we solve. So I think a conversation around our technologies and what's worked in the past and what hasn't worked. So I think there's two kind of models. There's a referral where it says, right, we know it's to do with data quality, go and speak to DQ, or it's more of a co-sell approach where we're working with the client together, understanding their challenges, and then really, like you said, bringing us into conversations as and when you hear those challenges, and then it's about putting a solution together with the technologies we have in our armory to make sure that we do solve duplicate challenges, concerns around manual data cleansing efforts, or just concerns around, it being a blocker to AI or getting the most out of your reporting solution, etc. It comes in different shapes and forms, shapes and sizes, but fundamentally it always boils down to the same kind of challenges.
And then we've got a few minutes left. So is there a sort of an example you can call out that you think is sort of illustrative of that?
So there's a partner we work with in the UK, and they work specifically in the recruitment sector. So they've built a verticalized solution for recruitment, and they introduced us to a client, and turns out that they actually faced over 500,000 duplicate records in the system, hugely hampering their consultants team updating of the system and just general adoption and usage, which is what we were talking about at the start. So we were able to help them, and obviously that would have been a huge manual intervention. We calculated there was a $250,000 in FTE savings, in salary, actually saved in that process. So actually just running technology instead. And what's actually come out the back of that is they're actually now starting to leverage Copilot with Microsoft, but also the partner is now developing technologies utilizing Copilot specific for that verticalization, which now that client can now make the most of because they trust the data in the system. They've even gone to the point where we've scorecarded the data for the client so that they can track metrics as to the health of their data, and actually understand, is new data of poor quality, high quality, and how is it tracking over time, and actually call out where poor quality data is coming from. So I think that's a really nice use case where there was a huge magnitude of duplicates and other data quality challenges that in the end, having been resolved, has ended up with this story around AI which goes to the point of, it's not all doom and gloom necessarily.
Well, I think as well, kind of the nice thing about that situation is people go, well, I know my data's bad, I just don't know which bit of it's bad. And now we're able to say, well, here are the needles in the haystack. Here's where it is wrong. Here's where we can improve it. Here's how you've moved on that journey so far. And we ran a workshop the other day, actually, and one of the big things that came out really, of course, is trust in your data, and single customer view. They want a single customer view so they can better serve their customers. That's what it's all about. And if you're doing a master data management where you're integrating multiple systems, again, you've got to have a single customer view. Otherwise, everything hanging off of it is just not the truth. So yeah, it all comes down to trusted data at the end of the day.
Very cool. Well, we're getting to the end now. So if people want to reach out to you, I've put an email address here. So sales@DQ Global. And I guess pop onto the website, have a look at dqglobal.com as well. I know all three of us will be at the Microsoft Springboard event next week in lovely Enfield, and I know you guys are going to head out to San Antonio, just similar to Enfield in some ways.
Multiple ways, yeah.
I can't think of any top of my head, but I know you're going to be at the User Summit 2 weeks' time, I think.
Yes.
Somewhere around there. So I'm sure that if people want to meet up with you, just reach out to you both at sales@dqglobal.com. I'm sure you'd want to meet up for a Shiner Bock, which is a very fine Texan beer. So you can have a chat with them there. So
very good.
Yeah.
Have a booth, cool by. Yep.
On Rich.
Yeah, why not? Wonderful. Well, thank you both for joining us today. It was great to hear about DQ Global, but also have a little bit of conversation about that topic that nobody wants to talk about when they want to do implementation. So I think my strong advice is just get the guys from DQ Global in and let them take that problem off your shoulders and make some money at the same time, which is always a good thing.
Appreciate that, Rich. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
And thanks, everybody, for watching. And I hope the rest of you have a great rest of your week. Thank you very much.